We give 5 every Tuesday on the podcast. Each of us, sometimes we overlap. Last week we overlapped a good amount. So Grant, let's start with you. What's your first spread pick?
Okay. Yeah, we have, I want to think three of the same spread picks last week.
Yep.
I'll start. I'm trying to figure out, do I start with a good one or do I start with a bad one? I'll just go chronologically. Why not? I'm going to start with the early game across the pond. Vikings -3.5 against the Browns. Now, look, I took the Vikings -2.5 across the pond last week. We're moving a little. We're going from Ireland to England now. We're in London. I get it. It didn't work out. I didn't expect Carson Wentz to throw the ball 46 times, whatever it was. He actually wasn't terrible. Now, granted, Carson Wentz still has never met a sack that he didn't like, and he was trying to throw some interceptions. He wasn't awful. I was actually disappointed by the Steelers' ability to create chunk plays against the Vikings defense, which had been the best in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. But this is the thing. I always say that international games are like the great equalizer. They bring everybody to a level playing field. Well, the Browns are going across the water to a new continent after getting their tails kicked in last week, while the Vikings, they've been there. There's no jet lag. There's no adjustment period. Carson Wentz, this is now his 3rd week starting, so he is starting to get into as much of a rhythm as he's going to get into. And I'll be honest, the way that they've been able to run the ball, the way Kevin O'Connell's called the offense, it's Kevin O'Connell. He's a genius. They've got weapons. You can win games with a backup quarterback there. Now, this Browns defense is excellent, and wouldn't surprise me if they get a strip sack or something like that. But Joe Flacco just cannot move. He's giving out turnovers like he's giving away Halloween candy. This Browns offense, Quinshon Judkins has breathed some life into it, but still they struggle to move the ball. They struggle to get in the end zone. They've got so few weapons that I look at this game, the total's 36.5. So the odds makers obviously don't think there's going to be many points, but we can get this to like 17-13 and the Vikings would cover that line. So I will take them, even though they let me down last week.
I really thought the Vikings were going to win that football game last week. Same as you, Grant. I also think too, these international games, I think the NFL is trying to put one over on the international audience. I know this goes against your I agree with your spread pick, but I just think too, why don't we send the Chiefs and the Ravens to London? Why are we sending the Vikings and the Browns to London? Let's send a big American game over there. Let's give the international crowd some quality football instead of the Vikings and the Browns. But they won't do that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is definitely the fact that it's a business decision. The NFL wants those games to be in America. They don't want them to be at 9:30 when nobody's watching.
That hit me too. This weekend. I was sitting there and you know what? I'm like, why are the Vikings getting the shaft having to be in Europe for 2 weeks during the NFL season? That's really hard on you. I'm not saying it's cool. Like we got quarterbacks getting jumped in Ireland. We got backup quarterbacks.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
That was insane. Absolutely insane. But anyways, Grant, I like the pick. I think it's a smart one, and I will be agreeing with it. The Browns defense is great. I just don't think they have the offense to keep up with anybody in the NFL right now. How long till Shedeur plays? Another 3 weeks?
Well, Dylan Gabriel's getting in before him.
You're right. But like nobody's talking about Dylan Gabriel either. There's not one like start Gabriel. Nobody's talking about that. They're saying start Shedeur.
The whole franchise Dylan Gabriel's not the guy for the future. Shedeur's not the guy for the future. They just had whatever pick. They had the 2nd pick in the draft. Obviously, they traded it for Mason Graham, and that was the right decision because you get the 5th pick and you get a future first. So I get it was a smart thing to do. But it's like the Browns are always at the top of the draft board, and they just have not had a quarterback since when? Since Baker, who they traded and is now a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yep. Speaking of Baker, we'll just start with the Buccaneers. So I will not go in chronological order. 4:06 p.m. Eastern time. We got a little Buccaneers versus Seattle Seahawks game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers +3 at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle coming off a win over the they play Arizona Cardinals on Thursday night. That was a game where I look at Seattle was much better than Arizona. I still didn't gain a lot of respect for them watching the football game. They left the door open. They didn't shut the door on the Arizona Cardinals. Same thing with the Eagles last week against the Buccaneers. I thought that game was going to be 50-7 based on how the Eagles were playing early on. The Eagles didn't shut the door. Bucs found a way to come back and climb their way back in the football game. Think about Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just don't give up. They don't stop fighting. I think Mike Evans not being in the lineup severely hurts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was hard for them to get anything going, sustainable, long, sustainable drives offensively. Mike Evans is a guy who you can lean on and rely on. Now it's got to be a Mecca Ibuka, and they got to start getting Kate Otten more involved. And Baker's got to not do dumb decisions, and they got to run the football better. I think they're going to put everything together from that Eagles game, what they could have done better, bring it into the Seattle Seahawks game. Again, I like Sam Darnold. I don't love Sam Darnold. I think if you shut down JSN, you really can be successful going against the Seattle Seahawks teams. And I trust the Buccaneers defense to be able to do that based on how they played defense, especially in the second half last week against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, so this is actually one of my 5 picks as well. And at Bet365, maybe some other sports books as well. Haven't looked, but you can get this for Buccaneers plus 3.5. So you can lose by a field goal and still cover the spread there. So I do love this pick. Now, I'm a Seahawks guy. They're one of my surprise teams coming into the year. I had the Chargers winning the AFC West. I had the Seahawks challenging for the NFC West. I had the Jaguars winning the AFC South. So I had a couple surprises. The Seahawks were one of those teams. So I definitely do like them. And I think Mike Macdonald's a top 3 defensive mind in football. I think it's Brian Flores, Steve Spagnuolo's up there. And then I think Mike Macdonald's right in that ilk. But with that being said, the Buccaneers defense has been better than the Seahawks defense this season. And they can go on the road and they just, we could talk about how the final score looks and how that game against the Eagles started. They gave up 200 total yards in the entire game. They held Jalen Hurts to no completions in the second half. Saquon to like 2.2 yards per carry. This defense is elite. And Baker Mayfield is better than Sam Darnold. The Buccaneers' weapons are better than what the Seahawks have. Now, I get it. The Seahawks get extra rest. You're flying from Tampa Bay. Or were they in? Yeah, they were at home last week. So you're flying from Tampa Bay to Seattle. It's a long trip. I get all of it. Extra rest for the Seahawks. I get it. But I do think the Buccaneers can win this game. I think that's definitely on the board. So the fact they can lose by a field goal and cover the spread, too good to pass up.
I don't buy the whole travel thing. I'm sorry. I don't. These guys are flying freaking nice jets. They got big room. Got a lot of space. They get on the plane. They play the football game. They get off the plane. They've been doing this long enough between their major college football careers and their NFL careers where it should be no big deal to travel to the West Coast to play a football game. Now, maybe being in altitude in Denver, that's a different story or something. But just as far as playing on the road, I was also thinking too, I had a lot of thoughts this weekend. I'm watching Jalen Hurts command the offense with the Buccaneers crowd going wild. And I'm like, this is NFL crowd noise should be nothing for these guys that played at Alabama and played at Penn State and Georgia. It just really shouldn't be. And it's not. Like you don't see a lot of procedural penalties because of noise in the NFL.
Well, the stadiums are bigger in college. There's more fans there.
And I know the 12th man in Seattle, the 12th man's nothing like a Penn State whiteout game. It's too different. I think it's 2 different crowds.
I would be interested to see if we can get some sort of decibel reading on what the differences between the crowds are.
Yeah, they're professional athletes. That's the difference. So I trust them to go handle their business on the road. It's not like a team going from the West, like USC going out to play whoever they played this week and getting their doors blown off. Illinois, bad loss for them. Really bad loss. Close, but bad loss. All right, so you had that. So should I go with my second pick then, Grant?
Yeah, go for it.
Detroit Lions minus 9.5 against the Cincinnati Bengals. I will keep this one short. I don't think it needs a big explanation. The Detroit Lions are really good. I think the Detroit Lions are a better football team than the Green Bay Packers. And I think that week 1 game between these two teams really warped our perception for at least a short period of time. The Lions were tanked in the NFC Championship rankings. They were like 10-1 after losing that football game in the NFC Championship. They're right back up there. Green Bay coming off a tie against the Dallas Cowboys, who I do think have a very strong offense. They don't have a great defense, and we saw that. Obviously, they put up 40 points. But yeah, just looking at this game overall, I don't believe that the Cincinnati Bengals offensively can keep up with the Detroit Lions. The Lions have a better defense. They have a much better offense. They're going against a very weak defense in the Bengals. I mean, the Broncos scored 21 last night. I think it was 21, 24, 21 in that range.
Wait, sorry. Which game were you talking about?
Broncos scored 21 last night on the Bengals.
28, I think, right?
28, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. The Lions are 10 times better than the Broncos offensively. 10 times better. They'll put up 55 points in this game. You'll get the Bengals doing 14. Easy cover. It's a game. This is a game of like last week, Lions going against the Browns. The Browns defense is going to be pesky for a little bit. Their offense going to move the ball a little bit, but over the course of a game, the Lions are going to score more times than the Browns. I think same thing here.
Yeah, this is a stay away from me, I'll be honest, but I do understand the logic. Jake Browning was a good backup quarterback in 23 when he came in, and he could score a lot of points. So I'm waiting for that to happen again, and we kind of saw it in the Jags game, but he also threw 3 interceptions in 3 quarters. So I feel like that moment could happen, but the Lions also, what do we know about them? They run up the score against bad teams. The Bengals right now are a bad team. Their defensive personnel is still terrible. Browning turns the ball over / can't get first downs. And Zach Taylor is one of the worst coaches we have in the NFL, maybe the worst. So it is a stay away from me, but if I had to pick, I would be taking the Lions.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Grant, give me your third pick now at this point. Pick number 3.
Yeah, my third pick. So I will go with the Las Vegas Raiders at +6.5. I know you're not a Raiders guy, so you might need me to talk you through this one. If you look at just the Raiders' general play, yards per play, success rate, which is measure of staying ahead of the chains, they're actually solid. They're close to league average. The defense also in a bunch of different metrics, right about league average, actually a little bit better than that. The Colts had this red hot start to the year. I was waiting for them to come down to earth, and they've got a really good coach in Shane Steichen. So it was still a tough win for the Rams last week. The Colts played well, 1-score loss, but if we're looking at a 6.5-point line, they wouldn't have covered that. And it was actually a 3.5-point line, as we know. But the Raiders here, this is all I have to say. If Geno Smith just don't throw multiple interceptions. He didn't throw any in the Commanders game. If you take that out, he's got 7 picks in 3 games, had 3 interceptions last week. If you just, let's at least keep it just to 1 interception. Can we do that? Because Daniel Jones threw 2 picks last week. I know Daniel Jones was an MVP candidate through 3 weeks. We've got however many years of Daniel Jones of backlog. We know what type of player he is. He's going to look better with Shane Steichen than he did any time during his New York Giants career, but still, we know that he's not an elite quarterback. If you're the Raiders, you finally got Ashton Genty going last week. Not that it's been any problem of Genty's. It's been the terrible offensive line. But you know what? The Colts, they aren't amazing in the trenches themselves, at least defensively. It hasn't looked like that so far. And I feel like you can get at this defense more than teams had so far up until that Rams game. So I do think the Colts will win this game, but it is a 6.5-point line. It's a big line. Geno, do not throw multiple interceptions. You can cover.
Yeah, I like it. I don't have much respect for the Raiders. That's my biggest look.
Yeah.
Come down to earth, but it's a really tough game to bet. I think 6.5 probably feels a little too big, but I also could see the Colts probably covering it more than the Raiders.
Yeah, I know you're not a Raiders guy. We've had that conversation this entire season, so I didn't expect you to like it, but it's one of my 5.
All right, so my third pick, I will go with the New England Patriots +8.5 at the Buffalo Bills. I think when you're looking at the New England Patriots right now, at least, they got a team that is finding themselves. I'm not saying they're there yet by any means, but that was an impressive win against Carolina Panthers. You did what you were supposed to do, and I think that's the first sign of a quality football team. The games you're supposed to win, you got to be able to go out and win easily in those games. And they did that. Drake May looked really good doing the Cam Newton Superman pose in the end zone, which I thought was a little crazy for where we're at right now with Patriots football. But he looked solid in that game. The Buffalo Bills struggled against the New Orleans Saints. If the Bills struggle as they did last week, this week, which I don't necessarily think they're going to, Patriots could win the game outright. But 8.5 points is a lot in the division game. You're talking about a division that I think is not close by any means. The Bills run the division, but 8.5 points from the first place team to the second place team, when the second place team has a lot of good pieces on it, is just a little too much. If you can neutralize Josh Allen, if you can slow him down, I think you're going to keep the Bills to a reasonable enough score where you can be within a touchdown. If not, again, if the Bills blow them off the field, that might not surprise me. But I do think the Patriots, I trust Vrabel enough to get them going to keep this one close for a division game on a Sunday night primetime matchup.
Yeah, so kind of similar feeling for me. with this one as it was the Bengals-Lions game. It's a stay away from me personally. I think it's pretty close to the 50-50 line. But just like your Lions pick, if I had to take a side here, I would be taking the Patriots for pretty much all of the reason that you laid out. Got a lot of respect for Vrabel. I feel like he reinstilled a lot of the principles, the things that he holds close to him in that win last week. Now, it was obviously against the Panthers, and now you're going against the Bills. But still, that's a good opportunity to right the ship, get guys confident, remind them of what are the core principles that you hold true to yourself and to your team. And you take that into a game against the Bills where Josh Allen, and the Bills really sleepwalked their way to 30 points or whatever they scored against the Saints, but they still didn't look great during that. So could the Bills be up by 10 to 14 points for most of the game? Sure. Could the Patriots backdoor cover? Absolutely. But divisional game Sunday night, probably lower scoring, you would think, maybe trending under. So yeah, if I had to pick, I'd take the Patriots side.
Awesome. All right, Grant, give me pick number 4.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I've exhausted my fun picks. This week it's tough to make some selections here. I'm gonna take the New Orleans Saints at -1. Now, I have said for the longest time I think the Saints are the worst team in football. This is one of the most obvious letdown situations that you could possibly find for the New York Giants. Jackson Dart walks into town, takes over the starting job, only has 111 passing yards, but he runs the offense pretty well, gets like however 50, 60 yards rushing, touchdown, scores his first touchdown. You go on the road, you beat the Chargers, who obviously have a bunch of injury problems of their own, but in that process, you lose Malik Neighbors, and this Giants offense was starved for weapons to begin with. Now, I get Scadabo's made a solid impact and all that, but still, now when you're looking outside the numbers, who are you throwing the ball to? Who's winning outside? Wan'Dale Robinson? I mean, Dart had 111 yards last week, and I get it again. It's Chargers, great defensive coaches over there, great personnel. Certainly, the Saints don't have that level of talent and coaching over there, but now you're without your one true guy who can go win outside the numbers every time that you need him. So if you're the Saints, what you're doing is saying, look, we're stacking the box. We're keeping Scadabo and everybody contained, and we're making Dart throw it outside to Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson, and we're going to see if they can beat us, and really we know that they can't. On the flip side, Spencer Rattler, look, I get it. He's not a great quarterback, but he's actually not been the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. He's actually not been close to it. He's been solid. 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. This team moved the ball against the Bills last week, and they did cause problems for Josh Allen in moments last week as well. So I think really the only thing the Giants can point to here is, look, we've got the better defensive line. And honestly, for as talented as that defensive line is, it has underperformed this season. So I'll take the Saints at home, rookie quarterback, coming off his first win, letdown spot. I'll take the Saints.
This is my favorite pick of the week. This is my favorite. This is my favorite football pick of the week. I think the New Orleans Saints are going to destroy the New York Giants. I don't think it'll be close. I think Jackson Dart, it's one thing to go win at home. We've seen it all the time. The rookie quarterbacks come out. We saw Cam Ward's little highlight pass touchdown a few weeks ago where he rolled right, threw it back left 1,000,000 yards, and he hasn't thrown for over 50 yards of a football game this year. Jackson Dart is going to struggle this week on the road against New Orleans Saints. Saints at home are a little different. Maybe not this year because they suck, but I think the Saints come in, find a way to win. Spencer Rattler, he's not going 0-10 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's 0-9 right now. He will not go 0-10. Because there's only been a few quarterbacks that have ever done that in NFL history. So I don't see it happening this week. I think the Saints roll them.
I actually saw a stat earlier today, which is funny. Justin Fields in his NFL career now it's not 0-10 or anything like that, but I want to say the number was he's now 0-25 when his opponent scores 20 points.
I saw something like that too, I think. I'm going to say how many starting quarterbacks in the NFL have started 0-10 in their NFL career. Let's see if I was right about that.
I don't know if you're going to find that with a Google search.
9. There's only been 9 NFL quarterbacks. Well, it's AI now, Grant. That's the new thing. AI.
Who are the 9?
I don't have the 9, but I guess I could ask it for the 9. As of the end of this is just like the Google AI. At the end of September 25, there have been 9 NFL quarterbacks who started their careers 0-10. The most recent example is Spencer Rattler, who is the 9th quarterback. I guess he already reached it, maybe.
Oh.
I guess he reached it.
All right,
he's not 0-11.
We got to go fact check that. So he's 0-0. Oh,
I got the list right here. I got the list. He's not starting 0-11. Okay, I guess I messed that up. But he's not going 0-11. It's so all right. Deshaun Kaiser. What happened to him?
But he wasn't good.
No, he stayed in the league for a while though, I think. Jack Trudeau, Troy Aikman. Wow, that's interesting.
Wow.
There's still hope. Stan Gelbaugh, Derek Carr, Zach Mettenberger, LSU legend, I believe.
Yeah.
Brody Croyle, Warren Moon.
Huh.
All right. So you
There's
got
some solid quarterbacks there.
You got like a 30% chance of succeeding.
Like a 30% chance of going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you do. So, well, I guess that's because all these quarterbacks get drafted to bad football teams. But Spencer Rattler is not going to go 0-11. He's going to win this week.
Yeah, I mean, -1. The money line odds are you got Saints -112, Giants 104. So it's pretty close to a pick 'em. But yeah, I don't get me wrong. Like I do think the Saints are horrible, but I like them better than the Giants.
Is that your last pick, right?
I got one more after that.
Okay. So I'm on the Miami Dolphins +1.5 against the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers are the legitimately worst team in the NFL. I think they are the worst team in the NFL. They are terrible. The Miami Dolphins, I know you lose Tyreek Hill now, dislocated knee, obviously, MRI or not MRI, getting an MRI to show that he tore his ACL, MCL, whatever. Everything's torn. There's no knee left.
Yeah.
Now, you still have a lot of team speed without Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill hadn't caught a ball over 30 yards until 2 weeks ago. So, like you got a lot of team speed there. You got Jalen Waddle, you got Achane. You have Tua, who looks really good. The offense looks fine right now for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, just really good performance last night overall. Darren Waller catching 2 touchdowns, going from a rapper to a football player again, which is pretty impressive. So I think that they're going to get it done in this football game. I think the Panthers are legitimately terrible. And I think defensively, the Miami Dolphins are not the best, but they're good enough to beat the Panthers.
My final pick of the week is the Carolina Panthers -1 against the Miami Dolphins.
Crazy. It's a terrible pick by you.
So when you look at teams that get embarrassed, Tanner, they bounce back. The Falcons lost 30-0 to the Panthers. What happens the next week? They beat the Commanders 34-27. We see this in professional sports. Teams don't like to be embarrassed. You can say the Dolphins offense looks fine because they were doing their thing without Tyreek having the 30-yard catch. They were 0-3 up until this last week. So they weren't doing their thing. The Panthers defense is better than the Dolphins defense with all these injuries that the Dolphins have. Now, do I love Bryce Young? No, I don't. But Tua could easily turn the ball over. Tua turned the ball over. We know that about him. And he's missing Tyreek Hill. You just got to stop Jalen Waddle. And it's going to be Achane running or Achane catching it out of the backfield. That's basically all it is. I think the Panthers, having just been totally embarrassed, had their pants pulled down by the Patriots. I think they come out hair on fire in front of 7,000 fans in the Charlotte Stadium for Carolina, and they get a win.
No, that's for good teams. No, that's good. Good teams bounce back. Bad teams do not bounce back. Good teams bounce back. And I think Miami's just better. They're starting to, last night was a win. Honestly, you watched the game last night, you probably say Jets could have won the game if they don't turn it over 15 times and have like 200 yards in penalties. They probably win the game last night. But yeah, I think Miami's just better offense. I think Carolina, if you bet against Carolina every single week at a pick 'em spread, you would make money. So I'll take Miami Dolphins.
You know what? I am disappointed in myself because I'm in a survivor pool, and all week long I was talking about taking the Dolphins as my pick. And obviously right now you kind of want to weed off. You want to use up the bad teams, obviously, while still staying alive. And I switched it. What?
No, that's the worst survivor strategy. You want to survive. I've used all the good teams so far.
Here, so I'll tell you. So in week 1, I took who did I take? Oh, I took the Cardinals to beat the Saints in week 1. In week 2, I took the Rams to beat the Titans. In week 3, I took the Bucs to beat the Jets. And then this past week, I took the Patriots to beat the Panthers. But I really wanted to take the Dolphins, and it would have worked out because I would have had the Patriots aren't a great team, but they're better than the Dolphins, and you would like to have some guarantees later in the year. But I'm in a good spot still because I have the Chiefs, I have the Ravens, I have the Bills, I have the Lions, I have the Eagles, I have Chargers, did I say Chiefs? I've got Chiefs. I've got Packers. I've got all those powerhouses still left. So I'm feeling good about my position.
I've used Eagles, Rams, Bills, Lions.
So you're blowing your load.
Yeah, but like the bad teams are going to get better. That's the difference. Like I'll trust the Patriots. And I did use the Patriots and some others. So I got a lot of survivor entries, but I'd use the Patriots a little bit this week. The bad teams get better. That's my opinion. If you just survivor is about surviving. I mean, like 32,000 entry. I got 36,000 in the pool I'm in right here. 19,000 are still alive. So you've already cut off whatever, 17,000 people basically, which is a lot.
I'm going to pull with some of my boys. It's only 12 of us. And I don't know why, but whoever hosted it gave everybody 3 lives. Someone's already out. They got their week 1 pick right, and they lost the last 3 weeks.
They need to give up. You lose 3 survivor picks in a row.
So did you do all 5 or you got one more?
I did all 5 because we doubled up. I went and
okay.
Went,
so survivor picks. Why don't we throw this in here? Who are you looking at for week 5 survivor picks here?
I don't think this is another pick that I didn't talk about, but I don't think the Cardinals are good enough to be favored by 8.5 points over anybody. But the Tennessee Titans are also really bad. So, I mean, right away, you got to take the biggest favorite on the card, which is the Arizona Cardinals. If I had to give a second one, I mean, I don't love the Buffalo Bills against the Patriots. It would probably be the Lions again, even though I used them. If I'm looking for like a short survivor pick, I think the Eagles, because they just simply find ways to win week after week, and they're back at home.
Yeah, so I agree with that. The problem is if you're going to use a good team, I feel like you want to make it a guarantee. Yeah. So I don't mind the Cardinals pick. I used them in week 1, so they're out for me. I think the Lions over the Bengals is probably the safest one. But you're kind of just burning them, knowing that, okay, it's a good team and it's a team you could have in a big moment later in the season. But there are a lot of very close games on this week's schedule. I will say that much. I can look at pretty much all these games and say, I could see both teams winning.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Grant, that was another episode of Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. Some good picks, Thursday night stuff, 5 Sunday picks, Survivor talk. Had a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time, guys. So make sure you subscribe to Ride the Line podcast. We are here every Tuesday and every Friday. So make sure you do that. And Grant, why don't you take us out of here?
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tara and I appreciate you all being here. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button so you're always locked in. Like he said, full-length shows Tuesday and Friday, clips coming out throughout the week. Also, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And we will catch you all in the next episode of Ride the Line.